Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the May 6, 2024 Kitty Hawk Town Council meeting to order. Are we recording?
We are.
Yes.
All right. It is 6 o'clock p.m. We're in the Smith Room. We just had some important information. I wanted to make sure that you heard it. Not twice, but once.
Mayor.
So thank you all for coming tonight, those of you who are here and those of you who are watching at home. If you would join us, if you're able to stand in a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Council, I need a motion to approve tonight's agenda, please.
So moved.
Motion made by Dylan, second.
Second.
Second by David. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed. I just want to make an announcement. I know we've got a large group here, and I think you're here to talk about ADUs, but I just want to make sure that you knew tonight we're just setting public hearings for our next meeting for June 3rd, 2024. It will not be discussed, but you're more than welcome, and we urge you to come speak in public comment if you'd like to. Okay? All right.
And Mayor, so there will be no decisions made
No
tonight
decisions made
concerning
tonight.
those items, is that correct?
Correct. No decisions. We're just scheduling a public hearing for next meeting. So I urge you all to come back June 3rd, 2024 if you'd like to attend. Recognition of our town's team members. Folks, we've got some great employees in this town, and it just so happens May is a very popular month. Fire Appreciation Day was May 4th, just this past weekend, May 2024. National Police Week happens every year, May 12th through the 18th. National Police Officers Memorial Day always falls on May 15th. And Public Works Appreciation Week, May 20th through 26th, 2024. We want to honor and thank all of our employees and staff, and wish you best wishes, and thank you at all for what you do all the time. We're very fortunate to have you. Any comments about that, Council? All right, public comment. Lars, anyone signed up for public comment, please?
Yes, sir, we've got quite a few. Joe Anloff.
Good evening.
How you doing, Joe? And keep in mind, I didn't mean to interrupt, keep in mind you've got 3 minutes, and we asked you to speak directly into the mic so we can pick up your voice. Go ahead.
Joe Anloff, 4721 West Eckner Street. I'm here to talk about both items, 8A and B. I'm going to try to make it quick. I've lived here since 1999. I've raised 4 daughters in a little 1,200 square foot house on Eckner Street. I understand the challenges of ownership of property. All my daughters are now young adults. I'd like them to be able to live in Kitty Hawk. It'd be a dream if all 4 of my daughters could live near me my entire life. So I understand the challenges of trying to own property as a young person in Kitty Hawk, and also understand the difficulty or the work that it takes to operate a short-term rental. There's a lot of work in getting reviews, making sure your linens are changed, clean, cleaning services are all there. And if my daughters want to buy a property that has an ADU on it and they need to do a short-term rental and they're willing to do the work in order to be able to cover that note, that mortgage, that option should be available to them. I don't think that any ordinance in this town should get involved in someone's private business as how they make income. We're all here as a function of tourism, and we need to promote that. So I strongly oppose any text amendment that would change or involve themselves in how people operate their accessory dwelling units. I strongly oppose it.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Second item, on the zoning text amendment, Dare County, unincorporated county had in their ordinance for a long time an ordinance that tied the area of the land to the number of bedrooms. It was 15,000 square foot for a 6-bedroom house or 720 gallons per day. For every additional bedroom you wanted above 6 bedrooms, it was another 2,500 square foot requirement. So you had 7 bedrooms, 1,750, 20,000 square foot, 8 bedrooms, etc. At some point, that part of the ordinance was very quietly removed from Dare County's ordinance because it was determined that it wasn't a legal precedent. Now, I don't know all the ins and outs of the legality of it, but tying land area to number of bedrooms and maximum building size, I don't support that either. If the land can facilitate it, you should be able to build as big of dwellings you want. There's a tract of land near my house, it's 112 acres. Someone wants to build the next Biltmore mansion there, so be it. Let the economy drive it. So I oppose that as well.
Thanks, sir. Next, Laura.
Kyle Stickley.
Come on up, sir.
Hello. I'm here also to address short-term rentals and ADUs. My name is Kyle Stickley. My wife Carolyn and I, along with our 2 children, purchased our home at 5120 The Woods Road in 2020. Having both grown up here, my wife and I wanted privacy away from the chaos of the Outer Banks. On the hunt for something more secluded, we found our sanctuary on just over an acre on one of the private driveways off Woods Road that included 3 other homes and backs up to the nature preserve. We were very excited to find this, and it's off the beaten path, and no more further development can be made around us. Just as many other people in our community, we are now turning into victims of the Airbnb market. Our next door neighbors have recently closed their attic and built a large deck on the side of their home to access their upstairs as an ADU for a short-term rental. The large deck and staircase overlooks our fenced-in backyard. We tried speaking with them about this, an invasion of our privacy. They didn't care to try to come up with a solution that we were comfortable with. The deck has a seating area that allows our tenants to observe our young children playing in our backyard and to be able to see into all our windows in the backside of our home, including our children's bedrooms. The proximity of their ADU to our children's bedroom and family living areas is less than 30 feet, so excessive noise and additional outside lighting they've installed is another concern. Our quiet, secluded lot, personal space, security, and even our home's property value is being affected by their desire to make money. Our hope is that the town of Kitty Hawk can start implementing regulations for short-term rentals, including but not limited to not allowing short-term rentals in certain districts, requiring the owners to purchase a yearly permit to rent out part of their home, a cap on the number of short-term rental permits that will be issued per district, having yearly safety inspections to ensure that owners are keeping their tenants safe in the same standards the hotels are held to. Occupancy tax and beach nourishment tax should be paid to the town, and requiring short-term rental owners to also live in the house as their primary residence. My wife and I have lived on the Outer Banks for 30 plus years, and as homeowners and community members, we hope that our island can take a stand against short-term rentals that are trying to take away from our privacy and way of life. Thank you for your time and listening to my concerns.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Laura?
Gia Palakarova.
Come on up, ma'am.
Good evening.
So as we know, the Outer Banks is a resort community. I did not get to experience the cottage court, but I've heard about it, and I think it sounds like a wonderful thing. It's something that I would like to see come back. And it is the removal of these cottage courts that has neglected these short-term stays and small groups. We have towns nearby that are growing, like Raleigh, Virginia Beach, Richmond, where a lot of these small groups are coming from. And these folks that are coming to vacation, they are booking through the platforms like Airbnb, VRBO, various other platforms. And the towns are connected and receiving these occupancy tax immediately. So state and local government. The taxes are then going to our towns, and we as residents are able to enjoy these taxes and what is being brought back into our community. I'd also like to second the comment that was made earlier in reference to being able to have auxiliary dwellings is allowing us to be able to afford to live here. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Next, Laura.
Grace Anwar.
Come on up, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hope you all are doing well. My name is Grace Anwell. I am a local real estate agent. I was born and raised in Kitty Hawk. My That's my dad. And I spoke at one of the previous advisory board council meetings. I do try to stay neutral usually because I am a real estate agent, but I have clients that have purchased property with the current code in the VR1 zoning district that allows them to have accessory dwelling units. And they have bought these properties knowing that they could rent both sections, accessory dwelling unit and main home, out for short-term rental, which then provides a plethora of jobs, including cleaners, management. It includes occupancy tax that goes to the town that is used for other sections of the town. It includes maintenance folks, and the list continues. Also, the people that bought those properties are banking on that income to pay their mortgage. And to take that personal property right away after it's already been granted when they bought the property would cause an issue for those owners. Also, with accessory dwelling units that have already been built, a lot of those units cost $250+ to build, and they were built with the idea that they could be short-term rented. And if you take that away, and then it becomes long-term rentability, like KDH has done and other places have done, it takes away the value of the property. It takes away the thought that they were going to be able to build that accessory dwelling unit and make $30,000, $50,000 a year, potentially more, and then you restrict it to maybe $1,000 a month, which equates to $12,000 a year. And we can go on about the details of money, but essentially, now, if that property was built as short-term rental to begin with, and then that owner rents it for short-term for a certain period of time, then they choose to sell it, and the next owner, because the property's already been built, they could use it for the highest and best use to then become a long-term rental and use for somebody else. But essentially, what I'm asking the council to allow to occur is what natural free market enterprise capitalism. Allow that to maintain its course. We're seeing a lot of short-term rentals go back to long-term rentals. Please allow the economy to do that. Don't restrict people's personal property rights. Please do not change the text amendment. I ask you to allow it to stay the way it is because people's livelihoods depend on it, and our occupancy tax is built off of tourism in all of the towns. And I've always appreciated that the town of Kitty Hawk has allowed folks to use their properties in other ways. They are not the Curd Tech Club, they are not Kilmarnock, they are not even the town of Nags Head that puts a lot more restrictions on what people can and cannot do with their homes. And so I just ask that they allow the owners to make the decision that's for their property within reason. If there's other reasons that need to be addressed, such as noise, parking, things like that, if we could focus on making a community a better place in that front and staying away from infringing on personal property rights. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Laura?
Debbie Swift.
Come on up, Ms. Swick.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I am Debbie Swick, 59 Deer Path Lane, Southern Shores, and the creator of Band Balloon Releases MC. Thank you so much for putting it on your agenda this evening. I ask that you consider creating an ordinance, not so much just to follow Southern Shores Duck and Nags Head as they have done, but because it is the right thing to do for our environment and our communities. A helium balloon can last up to 100 years. It doesn't break down into anything but microplastics, which we know are a hazard. There is no such thing as biodegradable balloons. This ribbon attached to balloons lasts in the environment for over 150 years. The ramifications on the wildlife here is horrible. They travel a very long distance. If I were to take this and throw it on the ground, he's going to write me a ticket and he's going to tell me to pick it up. The problem with enforcing this as litter is it does not become litter when it is filled with helium until it is released. And once it's released, it's going up and it's unretrievable. That is what I hope to accomplish by going town to town. While there is a bill going on short session, hopefully soon, I am encouraging all the local municipalities to do the right thing for our towns, our visitors, our environment here. They litter our beaches, they litter our roadways, they get stuck in trees, and they kill wildlife. And not to mention they do cause fires. But I encourage you to please consider an ordinance. A resolution is a very nice thing to acquire as well, but that means you shouldn't do it. When you say ordinance, it means you can't do it. People are releasing balloons for graduations, weddings, gender reveals, and memorials. And sadly, those organizations, groups of people that release them are not releasing one or two, even though damage can be caused from them. They're releasing numbers in the hundreds. And those balloons are going to travel. They're going to land in the ocean. And I encourage you, without a doubt, I will stake anything on this, ask any commercial fisherman out here how many balloons they see out in the ocean. I promise you the number is staggering. So please give consideration to creating an ordinance to ban the release of helium balloons. We need to send a message to our residents that you care about this place, and we need to educate all of our visitors as well that balloons that they release from wherever they come from wind up in our oceans. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank
Debbie.
you.
Laura?
Ron Sunula.
Come on up, Ron. Good, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the Town Council, Town Manager. I'm here tonight to talk about two things that are somewhat related, specifically as they relate to our land use plan that was approved in September of 2023, specifically referring to the historical and cultural areas of our town. Currently in Kitty Hawk, there is no historical preservation ordinance for our historical landmarks and properties. As identified in the land use plan, there are 19 historical properties. 3 of them have been study listed, 16 of them have been surveyed. And as called out in our plan, no action has been taken to further get those properties recognized. What I'd like to do today is ask the Town Council if they would be willing to support the establishment of a historical landmarks committee that might work on getting the ball rolling again and getting these properties identified. This Kitty Hawk was founded on a small commercial village based on fishing. It's no longer that. We are an internationally recognized, historically significant place, and I'm proud of that, and I want to do what I can to preserve that history. In addition to that, I know many of these properties, or all of these properties, are owned by private citizens. There are both state and federal tax benefits to be received through the registration on the National Register for the state of North Carolina. And again, I'd like to ask you to think about that this evening. I want to talk about that first in public hearing. I wasn't sure if this is an issue that had to go before the planning board or another committee, but I felt it was important here to speak to this in public. The second but related issue is, long before the Wright brothers came here, there were these little saplings called live oaks. And since I've been here, I've got one on my property that's 150 years old, and I can't think of a tree anywhere else in the world that represents the Outer Banks other than live oak. I'm asking the Town Council to consider establishing an ordinance that adopts or identifies the live oak as a town tree of the town of Kitty Hawk. I know that it's easy to come up here and ask for it, but I want you to know everything I'm asking for tonight, I'd be willing to lead an effort to do either one. There's precedence here, so we're not the only town that recognizes this as an issue. Nags Head, Kildover Hills, both have historic review committees. They both recognize the live oak. And I'm not talking about just an ordinance that says, hey, you can't chop it down. If it's in your building plan to build your house, of course. But what I don't want to happen is for it to be knocked down because it blocks my view of the sound, or to have it, if it becomes damaged, I don't want it shouldn't be topped. Topping a live oak tree is equal, the same thing as cutting it down. And if we were able to do this, I'd be happy to agree to prepare and draft an ordinance to protect the live oak.
Okay, thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else signed up?
Duke Garrity.
Come on up, Mr. Garrity.
Sorry, it's gonna be quite.
Good evening, Duke Garrity, Outer Banks Home Builders Association, Mr. Mayor, council members. I'm going to speak quickly on items 8A and 8B. Item 8A has to do with accessory dwelling units. I congratulated Kitty Hawk a long time ago. They were one of the first towns to adopt an ordinance allowing ADUs in their town. Congratulated them at the time. We put them in. They noticed we made some changes to it a few years ago. Now we're looking to tweak it again. The only complaint that our association has with it, because we have a lot of owners and some of our members, they expended a lot of money building them. And they followed all the rules at the time they built, put them in, and they should be grandfathered in. If you're gonna change the ordinance, the text amendment, they should be grandfathered, the ones who followed the rules and did the job when it was built. Item 8B has to do with single-family dwellings and sizes. We know that the town has the authority to limit the size of the bulk and the height and a lot of the different zoning ordinances. But in 2015, Senate Bill number 25, and I'll read just a little bit of it because it's a kind of a long paragraph, but regulations prohibited by this subsection may not be applied directly or indirectly. The number of and types of rooms and the interior layout of rooms. What that was put in for was that we had towns, it was a growth period, and the General Assembly thought it was to the benefit of everyone to not be able to zone by bedrooms. We had all kinds of rules going on, houses were starting to become big. They were big by 2015. So they put this in. I wish, and I asked them at the time, put it in as you regulate by septic. And by that, they changed the wording to directly or indirectly. When you're looking for the occupants, you look at the number of bedrooms and it's directed, your septic is directed by the number of bedrooms. Well, they took that out as far as if you could zone by it. So the wording was applied directly or indirectly. So by you're saying you have 14 occupants, you're looking for 14 occupants maximum, you really don't have the authority to do that according to this bill that was from 2015. So I'm going to leave the legal definition in the paperwork with your town attorney, and he can look it up maybe before the public hearing next month. If you set the public hearing tonight, we can come up and we know you'd want to follow the rules that were there. You're leaving yourself open to a lawsuit. Now, other towns have done it, and what they said, well, go ahead and sue us. So I don't know, it's not a good idea. We're a trade association, and we're not going to go that far.
All right, thank you, Mr. Garrity.
Thank you.
Thank you. Laura's next.
One more, Gary Perry.
Okay. Come on up, Mr. Perry.
Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Gary Perry, 3831 Hurt Ferry Road, the Village. My purpose in speaking tonight is to bring important background information to council and citizens relating to the commercial VRBO issue that I thought was going to be before you. Before ADU or VRBO the term accessory structure such as garage, workshop, or outbuilding somehow morphed into the term accessory dwelling for living space but without a cooking stove. I do not know when that occurred, but the town muddled along with accessory dwellings being used as rentals or mother-in-law facilities. Short-term VRBO and greed corrupted the accessory use. I was still mayor when the manager and planner told me an applicant wanted to build a small primary residence on one corner of a residential lot and 3 accessory dwellings on each of the remaining 3 corners of that lot for a total of 4 living structures on a standard residential lot. Based on prior administrative interpretation of accessory dwellings, the planner felt he had no choice but to approve the request. Now understand, this would have been administratively approved. No planning board, no council involvement, no knowledge until the stuff hit the fan when the citizens saw it happen. As mayor, I informed the planner and manager that this must not happen and instructed him to immediately sit with the town attorney to stop any action. The instruction included history and a land use plan that clearly showed the citizens of this town would not put up with that kind of density. I further instructed them to bring to council a rule dealing with ADUs to get rid of the sham of a living dwelling without cooking facility. The town planner testament deserves credit for bringing it to my attention. I know that property rights will be an issue for some, while others will point to the beach zone residential areas that have been short-term residential or rentals forever. Times have changed. Strange visitors moving in and out of West Side neighborhoods is clearly an unwelcome commercial operation in those parts of town. Lay citizens are attempting to suggest text amendments, but lack the professional skill to deal with all the complications. Council has the ability to direct the town staff and legal counsel to bring forth text proposals that mirror what your citizens want.
Thank you, Mr. Perry.
You have what you want. You know what they want. I expected 5 minutes. I didn't know you would change.
Haven't changed. 3 minutes, sir. Thank you.
No, a hearing is 5 minutes.
Thank you, sir. This is public comment. Anyone else signed up, Laura?
No, sir.
Does anyone else like to speak at public comment about any subject? Feel free. Any subject. Okay, let the record show no one else chose to speak. Council, I need a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda, please.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Jeff. Second? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? So we had no items removed from the consent agenda. Items 8A and B that we were just talking about, council, we need to set some public hearings. Let's go with item 8A first regarding text amendment 42-1.
Mr. Mayor, I move to set a public hearing at the Town Council meeting on June the 3rd, 2024 to consider the proposed text amendment to Section 42-1 and 42-528, regulating the use of accessory dwelling units as short-term rental in the VR1 district.
Thank you, Jeff. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by David. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Now we've got item 8B, zoning text amendment, reference single-family dwellings. I need to set a public hearing there also, council. Anyone wish to make a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move to set a public hearing at the Town Council meeting on June the 3rd, 2024 to consider the proposed text amendment to all districts that allow single-family dwellings to regulate maximum size and occupancy.
Thank you, Jeff. Motion made by Jeff, second.
Second.
Second by David. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Thank you. Now, number 9A, Ms. Debbie Swick spoke earlier about the balloon release. And I've asked Melody, and I think Rob worked together about what other towns are doing. Melody, can you?
Correct. So we've given you some information, and as we sent this out last week, some things have happened and changed even in that time. So the town of Duck did pass an ordinance that prohibits the release of any balloon inflated with liquid air gas. The town of Kill Devil Hills recently passed a resolution, but I believe they're still exploring the idea of an ordinance now. Town of Nags Head did pass an ordinance to prohibit the release of balloons on town-owned property and public access beaches. And then Town of Southern Shores recently passed an ordinance as well. So Ms. Swick came back in March, and she was here again tonight. We would like to have direction from council as to what you would like to see for the future.
Thank you, Melody. Council, I think we need to make a decision here. I know at one time we first talked about starting with education at some point. What kind of discussion we got on this, council? What would you like
I'll
to-
start off.
Okay.
We educate about fireworks too, and they don't listen.
I know.
So I'm past that.
I agree.
I've been offshore too many times and saw way too much balloons out there. So I'm personally in favor of it, doing something. I don't think education works. Putting signs out, it's not going to
Yeah.
matter.
You kind of leaning towards resolution or ordinance, or?
I'm happy to keep discussing it. I just
Okay.
think we need to do something.
Okay.
And educating is not going to work.
I agree with you 100%. Dylan?
Can I ask, is the release of helium balloons, is that already considered littering, which is illegal? Chief, can you provide some insight on that?
Well, sir, I would have to look into it more, but yes, you are releasing something. But litter typically would be on the ground, and you would see the person and you would charge it based on that. I am not aware of anybody ever being charged with releasing a helium balloon as in litter, but I could be very wrong. I am not very well educated on it, but I can certainly do some research for you if you'd like.
I'd be interested in hearing, what that entails, if releasing into the air is considered legal. I'm totally against releasing balloons as well, but I'm not a fan of cluttering ordinances in two different places when it's already in one place. If we could group that into an existing law that's already there, I'm all for that as well. But yeah.
Let me look into it. I can get back to you and give you some advice there, and maybe you can talk with Casey over here as well.
Okay.
Get some input.
Appreciate that.
I can certainly look into that as well.
That'd be great.
No problem.
I have a follow-up comment on that. I might be wrong, but I think the difference is once you release it, unless you're sitting out there in the ocean and watch it come down, it would have to be its own. I don't think you can jumble it in with litter because it's not litter yet.
You'd have
I
to
think
prove
you're
who
right.
let it go too.
And I think this whole thing is going to be an enforcement nightmare.
It does seem that
Right.
enforcement's a
Yeah.
critical part of this entire thing, but I think Councilman Tillett raises a novel point at least that deserves some research. I agree. I have no problem doing that. I can work with Chief to do it. No problem.
Great. Jeff?
Well, I am a commercial fisherman, and I'm sick of seeing those balloons floating around. I agree 100%. I support whatever we got to do to put an end to it. Resolution to me isn't going to work, and if there's some way that we can put an accidental, somebody letting one go coming out of the Dollar Tree is different than a wedding and 30 balloons let go. I don't care where they land. I know where they land in our waterways. So I'm for whatever we can do to help, control it.
Thank you, Jeff. I agree. Charlotte?
I agree.
Agree. Okay, Cassie, you want to wait to get a clarification back from Casey and Chief before we proceed, or would you like to do something tonight?
I'd like to see.
I'm ready to, yeah.
And if I understand it right, our kind of two prongs here. One, is this already something that would be covered under a general littering charge?
Already enforceable.
Right, that's already enforceable. And then stemming from that, what technique could we use to enforce, or what techniques could we insert into an ordinance if that comes up to help with enforcement?
Well, we got to be careful with that because if it's a town ordinance, it's like a $25 fine.
Right.
That's not going to stop somebody from doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Which can be chargeable, however, because I don't think we've adopted anything to the contrary. It can be chargeable also by a misdemeanor, and that'd be under 160D, and something that again can be incorporated into an ordinance. That comes from, again, statutes that allow for those types of misdemeanors to be placed into town ordinances. So
It's going to be an enforcement nightmare. We know that, right? So do we have to look further?
Well, I think that was my second prong there, is what, if anything, from an enforcement standpoint, could be implemented.
But do we have the authority to tell Harris Teeter they can't sell them anymore?
I think that's a
Nothing wrong with selling them.
That's a totally different, in my opinion.
Can't keep it from selling them, it's releasing them.
Right.
And as long as they've got the weight on them, some have the ordinance as long as they're weighted down.
I mean, I'm with Jeff. I get you walk out in the store. I've seen it and the wind's blowing. He go.
I agree.
But just to release them.
I will say this, and I believe this came from a conversation I had with Rob, and potentially Debbie may have brought this up Ms. Swick may have brought this up at a KDH meeting. Of course, I serve as their town attorney. But there may have been other towns in North Carolina that have attempted to do what you're discussing, Councilman Hines, which is take stores and restrict what they can and cannot sell within your jurisdiction. If council wants me to, I'd be happy to look into what, if any, fruition came from that, which would be just another source, I guess, of diminishing the impact.
I mean, that may be extreme, but I mean, we don't allow fireworks yet to end up here.
Right.
Yeah, let you buy.
I'm not saying, don't trust me, I'm not telling you, I'm promising.
I'm not
coming back
against
with something
selling.
bulletproof. I'll look into it, for
Yeah,
sure.
that's right.
I hate to wait another month, but council, you just want to let Casey see what he can find out, because the summer's upon us, and we're going to have balloons being released. And
Wedding planners would be another place to start too, and let them know that it's not acceptable.
Right.
And they can discourage somebody that's coming from out of the state with their wedding plans. They would be a big instrument for helping with that.
Melly, did you have a suggestion? Looked like you had been talking to.
Yes, I've been in contact with most of the towns about the things that they're doing. And if you feel comfortable, we can certainly get the information that you've requested tonight. But it's possible, I think, that we could communicate in the meantime and perhaps have a draft ordinance, if that's what you want to go to, and for June is what I'm hearing.
I think that's a good idea.
That's a good idea.
So we'll be in touch and communicate what we find out in our research, and our goal will be to have a draft for the June meeting.
And that will work fine, because what I can then do, just like we would at any other hearing where you're presented with something, I can give feedback on what I've found. You guys can compare that versus the ordinance that we have in front of you, and we can go from there.
All right, and we do not need a motion because it's just for informational purposes only, right?
Correct. But I think consensus is that if I've heard it right, is that I do some research in tandem with the chief, and then we also at the next meeting bring you a draft ordinance concerning the release of balloons.
Sounds great.
I think it's a great plan.
Good, counsel? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Swick. Sorry we couldn't make a decision tonight, but we
can do the
just need to get it cleared up.
Well, I mean,
You're more than welcome.
Good news is we don't have a whole lot of wedding venue homes. Which
Yeah, we
helps.
do.
Not legally.
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah. All right, thank you, counsel. Melody, Ivy Lane flooding, I know you've got an update for us there.
Okay, so in your package, I included a kind of a final recommendation from John DeLucia of Albemarle and Associates. The residents on the southern end of Ivy Lane brought forward their concerns regarding flooding at the end of their street back in August. And this says 2023. Town instructed us at the time to explore options and asked the engineer to come up with a preliminary plan. This was presented at the February 5th meeting. At that time, council also requested a survey of the affected residents and kind of to determine their interest and their issues and questions and concerns. You have also in your packet their responses. And so the town engineer has kind of completed the final review, tried to reach out to the residents and offer to have another meeting. And there doesn't seem to be any consensus that this is anything that the majority of people want to do. So his final recommendation is not to pursue the project since there's not enough support of the residents. That is his recommendation. The council can decide whatever they, if they want to do something else.
And as Melody said, the survey was sent out to every resident, and we did not have 100% compliance of taking the survey. Correct, Melody?
Correct.
All right, council. Again, this is just for informational discussion purposes for us.
Mr. Mayor, I suggested going to the people, and if the majority of the people don't support a project, then I certainly
I agree.
I certainly don't want to do something that the majority of the people that it affects isn't in favor of. So.
Yeah. We have tried, and it's already cost us
Right.
a
And
lot
then
of
sometimes,
money.
you know,
That's not an important thing. It's-
sometimes I still wonder if the damage is worth the once-in-a-while flood that it would create back there to your landscape, and who knows where the water's going to go then.
Yeah. Council pretty much on board with that? Okay. We good, Melody?
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, council, item 9C, the budget amendment for the police station. Melody?
So, in accordance with GS 159-28, before any governmental unit can incur a financial obligation, the finance officer must ensure that there's appropriation or enough money, basically, to authorize the expenditure and that the sufficient money remains to cover the obligations. As we move forward with the construction contracts, which have not been signed yet, you all did receive a copy of the contract for review, and I haven't received any feedback as of yet. The town needs to ensure that the police department capital fund project has sufficient funds to cover anticipated expenses as we move forward. So we are requesting a budget amendment for Fund 41 in the amount of $230,307. This will cover the special agent inspection fees of $32,574, security cabling and equipment expenditures of $159,070, as well as the balance owed for future services for the already approved Dills Architects contract in the amount of $97,664.
This is something I think, council, that we probably expected when we got to this point, but any discussion on this, council?
What's the total amount that we're trying to move? I'm
The
sorry.
budget amendment is $230,307.
On top of what we allocated before, right?
Yeah, I think we expected, but we just didn't have them in mind at that time.
Melody, I don't want to venture outside of the lane here, but just one question. Is this number reallocating, or this budget amendment, is that included in the next topic that we'll discuss, so this is prior to the information in the packet for the budget?
Yes.
Okay.
This will be done this fiscal year, so we can move forward with any contracts that we are
Gotcha.
going to sign.
It's in the 23-24
Yes.
year. Got it.
Yes. And as you know, there's money in the general fund, and it also depends on how we end up at the end of this year. Our interest earnings have been more than we anticipated and things like that. So, you know, it isn't like a direct, we move this from the general fund to the police fund at this time. It's just a budget appropriation. And it'll be hashed out at the end of the fiscal year.
Thank you, Melody.
Do you guys think this is the last amount of money you're going to ask for?
No.
Yeah, see, I don't know.
Yeah, we got some more coming.
But it was asked at the last meeting, like some of the things that we need to have now versus things that we need to have in the future. So furniture and equipment isn't in this one. But this would give us enough money to move forward with everything that we know of now to get through the construction, we hope, through the construction process. I mean, this is all on estimates, as you know.
I mean, here we are. I mean, I don't want to keep being opening the vault. You know, I mean, I get that things happen, but, you know, when we set that money aside, you know, I feel like, you know, you're going to have things that come up. I understand that, but, you know, we haven't even gotten into addressing the contractual side of change orders and all this other stuff. Hopefully, you know, that stuff doesn't happen and occur too. You know, that's all in the contractual stuff that Casey could do, which I have a couple recommendations on that, by the way.
We've got to do this to move forward.
I understand. It puts me in a tough spot because I want to see the police station built. But, I mean, we got to keep a handle on these costs.
We all do.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff,
I feel the same way. I know we got to keep going, but it can't keep every month. I mean, we just can't say we general fund, and this police department, I mean, just spiral out of control. It's already a little bit out of control, I think, but I don't know.
I mean, I don't think anybody sitting up here wants this more for the police department than we do. I just want to keep a handle on the cost. So, I mean, I'm in a tough spot because we have to do it to move forward, but really got to do something different here moving forward on some of these costs or whatever's coming up.
All right, these are all, like I said, these are all things that we expected and knew. We just didn't have the amount at that time. So now we have the totals before us. What's the council want to do?
I see this thing a little different, from a different perspective than you're looking at it. I see the money that we saved when we didn't build a brand-new one on lots we already owned for $14 million. I see the fact that we bought this building for $4.1 million, and we were able to have income producing in that building, and we were able to, it grew tremendously from what I had anticipated when we were just going to make do with what was existing and fix some of it up and use it for the police department, and it kind of grew legs and got away. But we were going to have a mortgage on $14 million, and that was way more than we should have ever been thinking about doing. And I want to see it done. And we have the money, we can do it. And it's unfortunate that it keeps creeping up, but we're already deep. We're already in it.
I've been there from the beginning. That's why we didn't do the $14 million project.
That's right.
So.
But, and we're still so far ahead of the game, even with that $230,000. We are way ahead of the game if we had built the station, and we wouldn't even have started that. So.
And I'm going to say for the third time tonight, this is not something that we didn't expect. We knew it was coming.
I'm not disagreeing that we didn't expect it. I just want to make sure we're keeping a grip on it as best we can. That's all.
Well, it's all documented. It's all, the exact amounts are there. And I
agree with you, Charlotte. We need to get rolling. But we need to limit what else comes in, Melody, so.
Right. But we can't, this has to be done in this fiscal year.
It should be, if we get through our contract process, Liliana cannot, she has to, what's it called, Liliana?
We cannot sign the contract unless we have the money budgeted by the law.
Yes.
Correct.
Well, then I recommend approval of the budget amendment for the Police Station Capital Improvement Fund 41 in the amount of $230,307.
Thank you, Charlotte. Do I have a second? I'll second that. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, thank you, council, very much. I know that's a tough one. Thank you very much. Okay.
Matt, I need to get one of my kids. Do you mind if I speak really quick?
Sure can, go ahead. On
my agenda item, I did want to make note that it could be that it's already surfaced. Some of you guys may have come across it, but just to put it out there. As of today, we got wind of it last week, but as of today, the House and the Senate have ratified it was a huge bill that had a lot of different things in it. But one of the important things was that Dare County local bill, which essentially stated that when it comes to affordable housing in Dare County, the construction of that housing, basically our ordinances didn't apply. That they could come in, make applications, and there was very few things that meant anything as far as what our actual zoning ordinance stated. They could ignore those provisions. Well, everyone knows now that the county has voted to return the money, of course, that was given, I guess, via grant to the county for affordable housing, but also The governor tomorrow will receive this bill. It's been ratified and is seeking to repeal the ordinance, which means do away with, delete, as if it never existed, the ordinance that says our ordinances do not apply to any affordable housing projects. So there was no opposition really in the House or the Senate, which generally means that the governor's not going to have much of a problem signing it. And I think it's also a benefit that there was a lot on this bill, because when that happens, of course, some things are more important than others. And given this is a local bill, we've got all the hope in the world that the governor will soon sign it. And as soon as he does, I will let you guys know. But again, that doesn't really change much in terms of how we've discussed things. However, it will be gone soon, very soon is our hopes. So
Great news.
That is very good news.
Thank you, Casey.
may I be excused.
Anything else?
Yes.
No, I've got
Go
nothing
pick up
else.
your kids, sir.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you being here.
Always.
Okay, council, item 10A, budget presentation. Melody?
No.
Liliana?
Oh,
Schedule.
I thought we were going to talk about roosters.
That B? We're talking about roosters next.
Yeah.
You're right. I was messed up.
Okay, good afternoon, good evening, council and community and staff members. I'm here tonight and happy to present the 2024-2025 fiscal year budget. Before we get into the budget nitty-gritty, I wanted to go over our 23-24 highlight of our accomplishments. We've had a really busy year. Town-wide, we developed town mission, vision, and core values. We completed the police station building design and development process. We've completed a property exchange with Dare County for construction of an EMS station and a town fire bay. We've held successful community events. We've leased all available space in the medical office building. We've received a $400,000 grant from the Outer Banks Tourism Bureau for a multi-use path. We've developed employee performance appraisal system, and we conducted a multi-departmental active shooter drill. In administration and finance, we've realigned job duties for open positions to best support the town. We've launched mandatory annual harassment and diversity training for all staff and new hires. We've begun personnel policy review and updates. We've implemented electronic benefits enrollment system. Our finance officer has assumed the role of procurement officer in the police station building project. Finance tech received our notary certification, and we've expanded the finance scope by cross-training and utilizing Stacy in the fire department for accounts payable help. In planning, we completed the annual CRS certification and maintained a Class 6 CRS rating. We've adopted a newly updated CAMA future land use plan. We participated in phase 1 and 2 of North Carolina Resilient Community Program, and we should finish this in June. We've appointed a building inspector code enforcement trainee who has achieved probationary status. We've transitioned office administrative assistant position into a dual role as administrative planning assistant, and we've expanded the role of the administrative zoning technician. Before I go on to the next department, you know, this is the things that we as a team have done, but y'all have enabled us to do these things, so we are very appreciative. Fire rescue, they completed requirements to meet federal civil rights and civil liberties criteria for grant funding. If you notice on the bottom of our agenda, we have Spanish on there now. That is related to this. We can't get federal grants if we don't have this stuff taken care of. We've received a U.S. Life Saving Association Advanced Lifeguarding Agency certification. We've initiated joint training scenarios between the police and the fire department. Captains Joe Case and Brad Antons received ATV and UTV instructor certification, and we've already provided training for the fire and the police and upcoming ocean rescue guards. The master firefighter David McCullough completed fire instructor certification. Firefighter Toby Wild successfully completed her probationary period, and Captain Antons achieved fire code inspections 1 and 2 certification. The police department expanded community engagement efforts and organizing or participating in over 11 events. They increased department's social media presence with significant positive feedback, implemented Officer of the Quarter program, Officers Amy Heckhouse and Aaron Nelson completed field training and officer training. Sergeants Travis Hardman and Tara Poulin attended FBI LEDA certification classes. They completed the final phase of Axon in-car video camera phase-in. They formed a community advisory board, and then Detective Jason Rigler received Officer of the Year. And last but not least, in Public Works, they completed medical center repairs and upgrades for the tenant, and the tenant is like outstanding. And I think, as I've mentioned previously, she is leasing the last remaining suite as of June 1st, which will increase the town revenues a little bit. We have replaced 50% of Bird Street beach access walkway in the deck. We completed $100,000 in road repair on Ivy Lane, Thick Ridge Court, Windsor Place, and Poplar Court. They had large repair to the Lillian Street beach access walkway. They have worked with the fire department to convert 983 West Kitty Hawk Road to a 3-bedroom, 1.5-bath dorm for ocean rescue personnel. And that has been a joint effort between the fire and the police, and I would invite you there, but we have our first resident already, and but it looks fantastic. People that have stayed in employee housing say that it is better than anything. We all said it's better than any first apartment we ever had. It is very, very nice, and they have done an incredible job doing the work and building practically everything in there. So we have completed approximately 265 curbside bulk collections, and we've hired 2 new public works techs. So that's just a highlight of things that have been done over and above just doing our daily work. So let's talk about next year's budget. Proposed revenues and expenses are balanced at $11,957,726. The budget highlights this year is there's no unrestricted funds to balance the budget. There's no property tax increase. We have established a community relations line item to help us with some of our special events, and we are funding some capital reserve for future purchases. Our top 5 revenue sources, you'll see largest source of revenue is taxes other, which is occupancy tax, utility tax, and so forth. And then our second highest is property taxes. And then you can see other revenue. Somebody asked me where the revenue for the rental property comes from. It goes into other revenue, permits and fees, and so forth. Expenditures by function. Again, you'll see public safety, as we expect, is the highest spend in our 2024-25 budget. General government is 3.4, and then we have the beach nourishment fund. Trash collection is 1.2 million, and then our transportation costs. So the general fund is made up of personnel, departmental and operating expenses, capital purchases, and beach nourishment. And I'm just going to give you an overview. So in personnel, this budget includes a 4% pay plan adjustment. It also includes a 1-step increase for all staff. We have an implementation of a performance evaluation process with a merit pay attached to that for the people who exceed expectations in their performance. We did, because of our history this past year, we did receive an overall 7.9% increase in health premiums. It was 13%, then they said 9%, we negotiated down to 7.9%. I think what you have in your budget is 9%, but it's 7.9 now. So we've elected to keep employee health premiums flat, and we also have 1 new custodial position in Public Works included in this budget. As far as operating expenditures, we're going to replace 1 fire vehicle, which I believe is the chief vehicle, purchase of fire equipment including AEDs, extrication, chain kits, and saws, upgrade permitting software and planning, and that will give them more workflow process. It will also allow us to accept credit cards. Replacement of 2 police vehicles and purchase of a drone. Replace in-car laptops, purchased a single axle dump truck, and replaced one public works vehicle. So that is all included in this year's budget and operating expenditures. For capital reserve, what we're saving for in the future, the land use plan update, replacement of a Caterpillar backhoe, boardwalk and dock repairs, upgrade to the public works building, HVAC replacement of the fire station, rehab of the firehouse galley, fire truck replacement, and in-car police radios. So again, these are things that we're saving. We're putting money aside to purchase these things in the future. Anybody have any questions?
I have a question. Didn't we get a grant for the police radio or something for the communication for law enforcement a couple years ago?
They have gotten some grants. I don't know. No.
The fire department.
The fire department.
It was the fire department.
Okay, beach nourishment. The town continues to dedicate 3.5 cents of the town-wide 30 cents to beach nourishment. We also continue to have our municipal service district, which is 10 cents, and those funds are restricted for beach nourishment. This year, the transfer to the beach nourishment fund is $152,172. Police station fund, this is without the budget amendment that you just made, but it is part of our budget. It's Fund 41, and right now the available balance is $3.599, and then we will get the budget amendment done to increase that by the $230,000 that you voted on earlier. So, in conclusion, the town remains in a strong financial position. Revenues and expenditures are balanced. No unrestricted funds are needed to balance the budget, and the town's emergency fund of $3.5 million is maintained. So again, just want to say thank you. Staff and I appreciate your guidance and your support and your input and carrying out the work of our town, because we're all in this together. So we appreciate it.
Great job, Melody and Liliana and Lauren. Great job.
The whole everything. They're all here.
They're all
wanted to
here.
know what was happening.
Thank you, guys. You're all here. Any questions, any comments? Council? Great job, great job. If not, we need a motion to schedule a public hearing for the next meeting to present our budget.
I'll make a motion to schedule a public hearing, next meeting, June 3rd, 2024, to, is it in writing then?
Budget presentation.
With the budget presentation?
Second.
Motion made by Dylan, second by Charlotte. Any further discussion? And again, this is for the 24-25 budget. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All
Aye.
opposed? Very good, very good. Now let's talk about roosters.
Okay.
Rooster.
Yes.
So,
Nice for that.
this is another item that the staff would like your input and guidance on. Within the past several years, we've had some complaints about roosters crowing, actually in a neighborhood here near Town Hall. The primary complaint has involved the police. This has been going on for a year or two or more. And the rooster owner faced a civil lawsuit based on the town's noise ordinance that went to court. The town's ordinance was upheld. However, the roosters are still crowing, and they crow during the day, and it's not covered by the town ordinance because it's during the day. So I think some of council has gotten some calls about this as well. So while other towns allow chickens, several stipulate that roosters are not allowed. Some towns and Dare, unincorporated Dare follow, like the town of Kitty Hawk, a noise ordinance. And we just liked your thoughts on, do we continue to allow roosters throughout the town? Do we update the noise ordinance in some way? Do we specify no roosters in certain zoning areas? Or do we ban roosters altogether? So Southern Shores allows no chickens or roosters. Manio allows chickens, but no roosters. Kill Devil Hills allows chicken, but no roosters. Nags Head, Town of Duck, and like I said, unincorporated Dare have a noise ordinance, and they allow chickens and roosters and such.
Okay.
Never a dull moment.
Never dull. Yeah, I know this is, we're laughing, but I know it's not a laughing matter
No,
to the
it's
person
not.
that's called me and you, Jeff.
And as I said, it's been going on a very long time.
We had the same call last year. Same thing was going on.
What is the zoning for where they,
Rob, what's the
what's the
zoning right
zoning for
across
where
the
the
street?
complaints are coming from?
BR2.
But,
BR2?
but that's not the only,
No.
that, you know, there's people in here tonight that aren't from, that are here for chickens in another area. There's two sides of the story.
Of course.
You know, nobody wants a rooster crowing out their window day and night. I mean, I don't. But I have a friend that would have a fit if he banned his rooster right now. But I think this is something that, me personally, I believe it should go back to the planning board and find out what everybody else is doing. Start back there and bring the chicken ordinance
How long
to
do
us.
roosters live?
I don't know. I didn't
No, and that, you know, that is part of, you know, I would hate for somebody to have to get rid of their rooster
I
right
wouldn't get rid
now.
of my rooster.
But, you know, I know, like I said, my buddy would, I mean,
He just can't get another one.
yeah, I mean, but I do understand, and I do think that, I believe that we should have the chicken and no rooster, but I don't want to make the people that have roosters right now get rid of them. That's now how we solve this, I don't know.
I agree. This is one of those things, we don't have to make a decision tonight, but Jeff, I think that's a great idea. Send it to the planning board, ask first, let them do some research, bring us something that we can look at and talk about. David, do you have something else?
I mean, can you grandfather in the existing rooster?
Probably.
Yeah, he can't live but
I mean, do you
so
have to have a permit to have them?
Yeah, but if you
don't?
grandfather the existing, that doesn't solve the problem.
No, I mean, but you can't have any more after
Yeah.
a certain.
Like I said, get the
Have to get a
planning board
DNA sample and make sure
Casey,
it's the same
let Casey
chicken.
and them figure out a way that we could, I mean, maybe you could make them come register their rooster. I don't know. I mean, I certainly am not for making anybody get rid of a,
No.
you know, I've seen some of the roosters and they're not, we think of a regular rooster, some of the roosters here are very elegant roosters. They're not like the one that you're thinking about, Foghorn Leghorn. So, anyway.
Evidently, the noise ordinance is not working, right?
Yes, sir.
Because it's already been to court and it didn't stop the problem from happening.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Town Council, Mr. Town Manager. So my understanding is that was a civil case and not a criminal, so anything that we're involved in would be a criminal case. So I'm not familiar with which part of that ordinance went there, but what I can tell you from the criminal, where we would take an enforcement action on that, it does specifically talk about particular animals and the noise that they make, but the terms that are used in there do allow for some interpretation. And so it talks about which frequently or for continued duration create a noise. So then it becomes an interpretation of the officer that's going out there, if they even heard it, or that what is frequently and what is continued duration. So much like any of these others, there is a discretion that is involved in this as to what you can hear, what you observe, and what you're able to take an action on. So that is specifically in the code, and I'm looking at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina ordinance, which is 18-2, noise
They have it.
control.
That would be the same thing as a dog barking
Yes, ma'am,
constantly.
that's correct. Animals are going to make noise.
Yeah.
Right, so we have to use some common sense in that to say that they are going to make some noise. But if a dog were to be barking for an hour out somebody's house, think at that point, it is the and I'm being a little excessive when I say an hour, but it is the responsibility of the owner to take some kind of action to address their animal. And a person does have a right to peacefully reside in their house or on their property. And at that point, we have to get involved. With the fact that a dog barked once or twice, 3 times, I don't see where anybody can take any action on something like that, bring that to a criminal court to decide, so it should be signed in that case.
And our noise ordinances, it like at outdoor events, it doesn't kick in until like 10 o'clock. Is that correct at night?
So there are parts, yes, sir, that would be amplified music, which that is true. There are hours that exist with that. 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. I think is what it is.
Yes, I believe so.
And so if you go to a place, that's just amplified music?
Well, the code is very lengthy, right? So it actually gets into very specific things, but loudspeakers and public address systems, they were talking about that is from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. on the public right-of-way. But there is a specific part for animals and birds where I was specifically talking to.
Right. I think the planning board needs to go dissect this thing.
Council, you okay with that? Sean?
Okay.
Yes.
We got it.
Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Yeah.
So they can't see the
Serious
light.
comment, can we send that same, is there a way to send that same, I'm gonna call it a questionnaire that we sent out for Ivy Lane? Is there a way to send that out to the residents too?
About roosters? Sure. Like everybody?
I mean,
Okay.
maybe not like HOAs, because they're already, can be banned in there, but I would think anywhere back in the village, back, beside my house.
That is, what we have is, the survey system is email based. So we would use the emails that we have, like we send the newsletter to and things like that. So
May
it
not
could
be
be a
that.
cross section of different people. But you can say, are you a resident? In what area do you know, we could.
I mean, I'm not trying to create more work, just trying to make sure
Oh, no,
everybody
that's fine.
knows about it.
Not a
Yeah.
bad idea.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Melody.
You're welcome.
Okay. Okay, Melody, comments from town manager.
So I am very happy to report we had a great community trash collection event on April the 20th. There were over 50 volunteers and staff present, and we collected over 500 pounds of trash, 2 shovels, a roll of flashing, a lot of cardboard boxes, large pieces of metal, and quite a bit of lumber, actually, from what I understand, off the side of the bypass. Everyone who came out was extremely positive. There were a lot of smiles that day, and they seemed to share a common love of our community. We had a great community business support, from them allowing us to use their parking lots, to local businesses and grocery stores, to donating food and gift cards that supplied a buffet lunch for everybody to come back. We had a volunteer who made, I don't know how many dozens of cookies. It was a really nice event. We had a really nice time, and the weather was cooperated. And lastly, I just want to remind everybody that on Thursday, May 9th, is the hazardous waste collection that Dare County does. They do it up here at the top lot here at Town Hall. And they collect hazardous items such as old paint and pesticides and aerosol cans and automotive fluids and such. And they will dispose of them properly. And usually it's a very well-attended event. For more information about what is allowed and what is not, visit darenc.gov. That's all I have.
Thank you, Melody. Town council, I'll just kind of jump in and echo what Melody said. The trash pickup day, a lot of smiles, a lot of laughing, and a lot of trash picked up. But it was a good day. We worked hard, ate good. It was a great event. Glad I was there. Thank you to everybody who's worked on the housing, Willie, fire department, Willie staff, police, whoever's worked on it. That's for the housing, for the rescue, ocean rescue and lifeguards. That's a great thing. So I know that's going to be positive for everyone. And again, thank you to all the employees. Thank you to everybody that worked on the budget. Wonderful job. Charlotte?
Very nice. I'm very thankful, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
For everything.
Jeff?
First of all, I'd like to also thank the staff for working with us with the budget. Thank you, Liliana. Thank you, everybody. Anyway.
Got a magic wand.
Sometimes we kind of fuss a little bit over money, but anyway, it's okay. Next, I'd like to bring forward what Ron brought to us. I think that's a great idea. I think that it's important for people to know where our historic landmarks and everything is in our community. You know, here I have lived here my whole life. I probably don't know half of them are. So I think it's a great idea. Also, an oak tree, I think there's a bunch of us in here that love those oak trees, and any way that we could work to help preserve the oak trees on the Outer Banks. I'm like you. I have a great big one in my front yard, and every tree could blow down the hurricane. All I do is pray that one don't hit the ground. So I understand. So thank you for coming, and maybe we can, you could somehow get this started. I support it. I just want you to know.
I do too, Jeff. Great.
I'm good.
Dylan?
I just want to thank Melody and Liliana and all the department heads again. I know we sound like a broken record, but I know that was not an easy feature to do. And, we appreciate it very much. So thank you. And I agree with what Jeff said too. I think I like Mr. Tamalo's ideas with the historic preservation and the oak trees. I think that's a good thing. That's part of Kitty Hawk that we love. And most of the comments I think I heard tonight from public comment were all addressed to the ADUs, and I think that's going to be handled next month. But there was one that stuck out, and I wanted to ask a little bit more about that from Mr. Stickley on Melody. Not a question for Mr. Stickley, but a question for Melody. We heard some issues with, this is the first time I'm hearing about adjacent property owners not liking or not having issues with the lighting, the noise, the privacy. Is there anything in the ordinance that assists with adjacent property owners on that?
Not to my knowledge.
Is there buffers?
Yeah.
Is there, okay.
Not currently.
All right. Okay. Maybe we should look into talking about that or looking into that some more. And I think that'd probably be tied into next month's meeting as well. I just wanted to bring that up. That's all I have.
Thank you, Dylan. Dave?
Everybody's already said I agree, so I'm thinking I'm good.
Good.
I've worked on this live oak thing for quite a while, and it's a little more complicated than just saying we're going to grandfather all these trees and not let you cut them down. There has to be penalties for having cut one down. There has to be, you have to figure out if they're going to have to plant two and the price of, you know, one they have to cut down to build a house. It's a lot to it to protect them, but they are absolutely beautiful and they should be protected. So, but it's going to be a little bit of work.
Yeah. Thank you.
Drawing the line of when can you and when can you not.
Yeah, that's right. It's not just as simple as
that's not a line in the
saying,
sand.
okay, we're going to do that.
All right, anything else, council, during regular session? Okay, I'll make a motion that we go into closed session pursuant North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11, A6 for a time manager review. Folks in the audience, we'll have to say goodbye to you. Thank you all for coming. Thank you so much.
I'll give you a second on that.
Second.
Thank you, Jeff.
Can I get out?
I think so.
All
Yes,
in
you may.
favor?
I'm going to turn them off.